Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
And this is Amar with ZenMaid. And today we are going to be chatting about a mobile app outage that we had at ZenMaid last month that I just did a blog post on the other day for our customers and for others. So yeah, Jeremy thought that it would be a interesting one
I
to
didn't.
discuss.
Full disclosure, I didn't. But I think it's very timely. So I think it's a good topic to discuss.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
sometime we do have, I don't know if it is a screw up, but we do have like emergency in the business. And I think it's good to have like a concrete example, a fresh one
Yeah.
for, just discussing about it.
Yeah, and I think it's also like I think it's important. That's one of the reasons I love like Twitter so much. It's important to share to share the ups and downs and everything
Why?
that when you just chat about, or when you just listen to podcasts, it sounds like everyone is always just like doing so well and everything's
I
always
am.
going
What do you
so
want
well.
about?
But I think it's important that a lot of people, that people just realize, that if you're listening to this and you're going through tough times in the business, like you're not alone, right? We've
Yeah,
all
we're a
we've all
bunch
been
of
there. And
losers here.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you
So
had a problem on at ZenMaid.
yeah.
Maybe we could cover chronologically speaking what happened. That could be a
Yeah.
good start. What
Okay.
happened?
Yes. So in a nutshell, in a nutshell, what happened was our mobile apps went down. That's like the long story short is our mobile apps went down from Friday until Monday for like a weekend like last like month. And so essentially what happened was
Which
there
for
was a
most
bug.
business is kind of okay, honestly, like weekends down. Most
Yeah.
business, I would say. Is that a problem with ZenMaid space or this
I
made?
don't think that it was particularly a problem. I mean, let's put it this way. If it had happened from Tuesday to Thursday, this problem would have been even worse, right? So
Okay,
the best time it
it's
could
good
have
to understand
happened
the
was
context.
definitely, yeah, was definitely this like time, but it was impactful. And so essentially what happened was we had a bug that occurred that was affecting users of the ZenMaid mobile app that had the Polish language set up. And our mobile
Told you not to support
developer,
Polish.
I know. um, um, so our mobile developer pushed a fix to that and tested and made sure that it fixed like the issue, but he made sure, I guess, that it fixed the issue for the Polish language
Yeah,
apps.
it's
He didn't do
classic.
any testing, yeah, on other languages, and the fix broke the mobile apps for all of the English users, which was 98 or 99% of the users of our app
Who cares?
have their language settings to English. And so then what happened from
They
there is, so
should
that
learn
happened on
Polish.
Friday. I know, right? That happened on Friday, and then we pushed initial fixes on Friday that we thought were going to resolve the issue. They didn't resolve the
Can I
issue.
interrupt you a second?
Yeah.
With not a joke this time. Um, so let me try to understand. So uh, the fix for the Polish is checked in or like it's published. It's on Apple, right? So Apple agreed to put the new version. People update, and then the Polish speaking people do have their ZenMaid working properly. But it broke the English one, right? So far, I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yes, I believe so.
how?
Well, only thing is Apple and Android, both, not just
Oh,
Apple. Other
okay.
than
So
that,
it's
yes.
both of them. Did the problem only affected the Apple one or also the Android one?
It initially affected both, and
Okay.
then it affected just Apple, which is the next part of the story.
Yeah,
So
I think I know what the next part of the
okay.
story is. So okay, so we are at this stage. Uh, how was that discovered that the English version was broken at that stage after the
We
Polish was
got about
fixed?
300 tickets at once.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So okay, so you know that there's what in terminology development we call it an escape bug,
Okay.
which is something that has not been caught by internal testing and that
Yep.
actually is experienced by the developer. That's something that we try to minimize as much as possible, of course.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're at this stage. Then the developer is made aware of, and then the fix is rolled out. Is that correct so far?
Yes.
We're still on
and this
Friday.
is all on Friday. This is all on Friday.
Okay. And your team is quite dispersed. Like, was the time zone playing any issue here in terms of?
It probably had like some impact on it versus if they were sitting together like in the same office or in the same time zone. There's definitely Tincho, who's our mobile developer, his hours and Alex's hours don't exactly align.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
So
okay, cool.
yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So we pushed fixes on Friday afternoon that we thought would resolve the issue. They didn't resolve the issue, and it wasn't caught until Saturday morning. So this is someplace that this is a place that we've identified for better communication, that we've pointed it out a couple of times, but we have the issue that sometimes our technical team will have the tendency to push what they believe is the fix, and then kind of like assume that it's fixed, or in this case it was one person confirmed that it had started working and they were like, okay, it's fixed. And then we didn't realize that it was only fixed on Android, I think, until Saturday. And so then what happened was Saturday, we figured out the actual problem, we pushed the actual fixes, but Apple was no longer open for business. So by Saturday afternoon, the Android app was fixed, but Apple wouldn't review our latest changes to the app until Monday morning. And so that's what really compounded the problem and made it go all the way into Monday for a bunch of our users, even though a lot of them had access again by Saturday. So, and that was essentially the problem in a nutshell. And then, not to sob story here, victim or anything, but our communication was particularly terrible during this time because of a personal like situation for me. So I was not able to really be on top of it anywhere near as much as I typically would have been. That I don't think anyone knows this, but I wasn't in front of my computer for the entire time that this was going on. I only had access to my phone.
Yeah. Okay, so I get it. So the iPhone situation, because now it becomes like an iPhone situation specifically on the weekend, doesn't have Apple some ways, I don't know about this, right? Doesn't have Apple some ways of allowing to fix those things, like rolling out to a new version, the previous version or some stuff like that?
I think even that had to be approved by Apple. I think it was something about the update that they had to approve whatever we were doing. I don't think that a rollback would have fixed this. We do have that option, I know, in both the web app and the mobile app. I'm not sure why it wasn't considered here, though. I'd have to ask about that.
It's fine. I don't think we're trying to solve this particular situation. I think what is important for the listener is how do we deal with that? Here's the situation I want you to picture as listeners or watchers, viewers, both. I mean, you have to, anyway. Imagine this: you are the CEO of a company, and then suddenly a lot of your clients are impacted. You only have your phone, and you have to solve the situation. And the situation needs to be using a company like a third-party vendor, like in this case it's Apple, to resolve the situation, but they're not working on weekend. What do you do? A, you close business. B, you, I don't know, you fly, you resign, you fly. C, you try to solve the problem. I don't know what was going in your head in terms of how did you actually approach this problem at that time?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different ways to kind of break this down. So there's what's the problem internally for ZenMaid? But then separately, there's what's the problem for our actual customers, right? And so the first thing that we think about in a crisis situation, or I would say the first thing, but this is why it's nice to have a bit of a bigger organization. So I know that my technical team is working on the ZenMaid internal problem. For me personally, there's not much that I can do about that. I'm not a coder, right? So they have to go in and they have to fix the problem. And if it's going to take Apple 3 days to review that, then to me, it's all the same, right? It might as well be the exact same as the developers take 3 days to fix it. Doesn't matter to me as a non-technical CEO.
That's right.
So the question that we asked ourselves is, okay, so what's the actual problem here for our clients? So the problem here is that their their cleaners are having trouble accessing the information that they need from their cleans. And so, what are the different ways that ZenMaid can get the cleaners that information? And so, we have a bunch of contingency plans in place. And so, what we spent 3 days doing essentially was educating our users on the other ways that they could be using ZenMaid to
Workarounds.
still get that access, right? And so, it's the very first thing that popped into my head is how do we solve the customer's problem here, right? And so, in some cases, if they would contact us and go, hey, I'm having trouble getting in, I need to know our schedule right now. And sometimes we go, okay, we're going to spend an hour getting you back into the system, but not into the mobile app. But sometimes the solution was, here's a screenshot of your schedule, go get your work done, contact us in an hour. And that was essentially what we had the entire support team doing for 3 or 4 days. And then I was posting on Facebook and trying to communicate.
Hold on. I think we're going too far here. One other thing
Okay.
that I really love, and I feel the same personally, and I think successful founders also think the same, is that the thing that matters when there is a big problem is not like, oh shit, we're in trouble, but it's like, how do we actually help, our customer that are in trouble, or like helping them, finding workarounds in order to help them alleviate this problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's going into problem solving mode, right? That it's not worrying about like, oh, how's this going to impact the
Exactly.
business and like blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
When it was actually happening, it seemed like it was a much bigger deal than it was. That was in large part because like our mobile apps went out. But like a year and a half ago, not a year and a half ago, 2.5 years ago, we didn't even have mobile apps. So like, we spent five years supporting businesses without this entire like functionality. It going down wasn't actually that big a deal. So essentially we have a bunch of customers and it was like maybe 5% of them were severely impacted because they hadn't set up any contingency plans in ZenMaid with backups and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there was a
Yeah, I
big
guess it
uproar on
depends
social
also.
media.
It depends
Yeah.
also on the type of business. Like if this is like a life support type business or
Mhm.
mission critical. Like if, for example, you have your 200 operators that can't actually phone if you're in a telephone, communication company.
Yeah.
I guess that's a little bit more
A little bit
problematic
different.
than, oh, I can't access my
Exactly.
email, kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And that was kind of the thing here is where like if you have a phone, you can access ZenMaid. It's not the mobile app, but this is how people used to do it,
Right.
if
So
they
it's
needed
mobile
this
friendly kind
info.
of approach.
Yeah.
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 No, that
So
makes sense. I like to think of fire, smoke, and repair. Like if something is burning, then obviously you have to contain the fire very quickly, or either you find workaround, you fix the thing, whatever. The smoke that comes after, you pour a lot of water, and then there is a lot of smoke. That smoke is the communication. How do you communicate with the customer? And that comes also with doing what you done, like a blog, like a postmortem, stuff like that. And then after that, it's
mhm.
just repair, like making sure that we put better foundation in place to prevent that type of thing from happening again.
Yeah. Exactly. And so yeah, that's what I posted about on the ZenMaid blog. We'll have that posted in the comments wherever you guys are watching or listening to this. You guys can take a look at that of what we put out publicly about it. We did a little post-mortem for the customers, talked about some of the different things that we're going to be doing. Yeah,
Yeah, I
to
think this
to
is
combat
important.
this.
One thing I'd like to talk about
Yeah.
is also in general, a lot of people are afraid of communicating up front, or like just saying like, hey, we screwed up, or like taking responsibility for things that happened, where in
Hmm.
fact all my experience, or maybe that's the only way I've always been doing it, but all my experience always proved me that it's much better to be upfront and build that trust, because at the end of the day, if the thing is too problematic for them, they're going to leave you no matter what. Whether you're trying to smooth things with them, like, oh, it wasn't my fault, it was something else. It's like, well, I want to work with someone who has control over things, right? So it's sort of like backfire to always try to push back the problem to something else or try to deny it. So always try to be as much upfront as you can. And most of the time it works better. And the people who stay with you are like more, you know, you built up trust that way, even though
Yeah.
you went through a terrible experience. All business go through terrible experiences.
Hmm.
So it's how you react in those situations that makes a whole world difference.
Yeah. 100%. I found these things strengthen the company more than they like hurt them. If we were to lose, a couple percent of like, our customers because of last month's thing, I would still count it as a good thing. I mean, we had a huge outage in 2017, and it's one of the best things that's happened to ZenMaid because of how much like we learned from that experience, right? There's a reason that the system is so much more stable. Now it's kind of funny to be saying that of like, oh, like the system's so stable when we just had this mobile app outage, but like that but like that
Well, a
that's
mobile
exactly
app, I consider
why.
that as a different part of the system
Exactly.
that may
that
not
that
have, been up
that's
to
why I
par.
didn't understand the uproar. I mean, there was a lot of crap being talked on social media about how like
Okay,
ZenMaid was incompetent and all this stuff. And I had to come in and just be
let's
like, hey, like none
let's
of our competitors offer any of the other options that we do. Like you're attacking us for something that like we didn't offer like, a
got
year
it.
or two
So,
ago. So
let me do my dramatic effect. So, Amar, let's shine the light on personal.
perfect. If you guys are not watching this on YouTube, you need to go over to see Jeremy's lighting effect
Playing
right
with light,
there.
yeah. So yeah, tell me, how did that feel like, personally? I know you were like dealing with some personal matter who were really hard to deal. Like any human being will have problems dealing with those things. Adding on top the stress of the business and so on, like, and then people, just talking trash and stuff like that. How did you actually went through that? Like, what went through your head mentally?
Well, so honestly, yes. So just for listeners who don't know me like personally or whatever, like my father just passed away, right? So that's what I was like going through, and so the whole thing was when this was going on, I just had bigger things to worry about, right? So like honestly, I was the least impacted by this emergency on an emotional level compared to
You're
we
already
probably
rigged
had
down,
like
yeah.
yeah, we've probably had like maybe 3 to 5 other ones that like felt as urgent as this like one. And on an emotional level, I was just like, yeah, like the team's on it, right? There's not really all that much like to do here. It's just like keep people, apprised of like what's going on. And then, what made the situation bad was just that I was posting and I was like, okay, it's fixed. And then it turns out that it wasn't fixed. And that made us look really, really dumb and then compounded things with a bunch of the people
I see.
that were posting in other Facebook groups and stuff. It was more just like if you're going to do that, if you're going to go and you're going to attack us, then like you're going to go and attack us, and like there's not really much that I can like that I can do about that. So yeah, I didn't really like
Didn't
react to
affect you
most
that
stuff.
much on that level.
No, no, not in this case. I mean, I have bigger things to worry about. But the other thing that I can say is that having been through this multiple times before, I also had it in my head of just
Mm,
like this will pass, right? Of like these things always
true.
do, right? And it's like even if it had gone another day or two that the mobile apps would have been out, like it would have affected our customers. We would have been able to help them and to educate them, and we would have lost some customers. And even if we had lost more customers after that, it still wouldn't have been crippling to the business. We still would have made all the same improvements and like continued to build an amazing business. And so, I also just realized that it kind of comes with the territory, particularly when you're not necessarily like an engineering first organization, right? Like for you, I think that sort of bug would be completely unacceptable. For me,
Well, you're
I
playing
think
with
it's different.
Apple. There is also some learnings there. I think, like never
Yep.
release, on close to the
On
weekend for,
Fridays.
those
Yep.
sort of things, right?
Yep.
So I guess there's always some learnings, and we don't have any mobile apps, so there would be also some learnings to be made here for sure.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I wanted to say something else about I think emotionally, as well, as we go through those, hardship, then we have more ability to take some steps back and then look at the broader picture. That really helps from, sort of like burning ourselves, staying too close to the fire at some point. Um,
Yeah, it always
yeah.
seems like the absolute like biggest thing when it's going on, and particularly early on when you have these sort of events, right? And we thought the entire business was on fire back in 2017, and then
It
you look
was,
at Profitwell. Yeah, it was, but the whole thing was that if you look at Profitwell,
but
you
you
wouldn't be
recovered.
able to tell me where that actually happened because of how
Mm.
small a blip it is on our revenue in the long run, right? When you look at our revenue over
No,
eight
I
years,
understand.
you can't even tell where that happened. And I knew this was just going to be another event like that.
The funny thing is that don't think anyone really attacked us publicly. or maybe I didn't see it because I don't consume much in
Yeah,
terms
that's
of
probably it. Because
things.
I'm very, very active and very like abrasive in like in the groups where I was. I'm a lot less like now. So like we're quite used to it. For you, I doubt that you've had like that sort of stuff. But
We
if
had
you
some
have, you
backslash,
weren't in the
but
groups.
it was
Yeah.
like clear to come up front and so on, and you know, I, yeah, I guess this would be probably a new experience for me, like being attacked, up, for actually, no, now I remember. I think Lemlist did. Oh yeah, actually, Lemlist did something very, like saying like we're a shady business, we're lying, we're whatever. I don't know. I remember
Oh
that,
yeah, I
and
remember that.
yeah, you remember.
Yeah,
And then I stupidly, I
a
think I
long
spent
time
like
ago.
20 minutes with the person trying to justify them like this was not the case. And in retrospect, it's just like, I have just let it fly, and then so what? Um, but it was on their group. I didn't have access to their group, so that
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
funny
yeah.
at the end of the day.
Well,
Anyway,
actually,
it's weird.
one just interesting point to touch on here, before like we sign off, is that a lot of these things are actually opportunities from a marketing perspective, depending on how you want to play it, right? And it's obviously different for a lot of people, but if you guys go and you read the post that I put up on the ZenMade blog, part of the reason that we posted it is because we genuinely feel like someone that's looking at us and a couple of our competitors is going to be more likely to trust our company because of the transparency
Yeah.
that we're showing around this outage, and particularly how unbelievably crappily some of our competitors have dealt with outages of their own, right? That like they've been flamed publicly because they literally just like, I'm looking at you, Launch 27, just gonna blatantly name you guys here. They went down
Yeah,
for
it's
like a
revenge
couple
time.
of
Let's put
days.
it
No,
on.
but they went down for like a couple of days and nobody heard from them.
But there's nobody
Like
using them. The more
well,
public you are, the easier it is to get attacked, right? And we both
yeah,
know that,
yeah.
right?
And that was actually something that someone pointed out to me during all of this. Is someone was like, "Hey, the fact that there's a post in every single group about ZenMade being down is really a sign that you guys have made it, because 5 years ago, no one would have cared if this happened, right?
That's
Like, your
right.
mobile apps are down. Who cares?
That's
Just
so
some shit
right.
software,
That's so
right?
right. Yeah.
So,
All
but
right. I
yeah,
think we'll leave it here. That was a great cast. Thanks, Amar, for sharing your experience. I'm looking forward to the next fuck up to discuss on the podcast with you.
yeah.
Maybe it might
Well,
return. Last time we discussed about problems, then the very evening we had some outage as well. So that was like
yeah,
pretty,
you jinxed it.
yeah, that must have been. I don't know. All right, man.
All right, guys. Cool. Follow us on Twitter, Jay Chatelaine. I always want to say it with an
Yeah,
N.
yeah.
I always want to say it with like chant, like
No,
Chantelane,
no.
but no, Chatelaine.
Fra-
Oh,
it's a French one, so you say Chatelaine.
Chatelaine.
There you go. And you
Okay,
put a J
okay.
in front, and you're done for the day. And it's just Amar, all one word, no space. And it's just Amar, all one word, but without the all
Yep.
one word at the end. It's
Yeah,
just
but yeah, exactly.
Amar.
Now I'm regretting that username. So,
Yeah,
all
me
right,
too.
cool,
It's
man.
too long. All right,
I'll see you next week for some more recording then.
there you go. Bye, Amar.